Yo, YouTube, what's up? I'm Tim. He's AC. This is the Cash Kelly and AC Sports Report. And I read an interesting article today on ESPN by Howard Bryant. He does a lot of work on shows like The Sports Reporters and things like that. He wrote that this is the last year of 2010 style baseball, and he didn't mean by the no-hitters and all that stuff. He meant you're not going to see the same playoff format. You're going to see less games in the regular season. And you know what, I'm thinking about this, and I know I made a video with one of my friends for the playoffs, and I said, you know what, I don't think anything needs to change. Well, I think this playoffs might have changed my mind. AC, are you in favor of adding teams to the playoffs?
I think I could deal with adding teams to the playoffs. The only thing you got to look at is how long it takes this year. I mean, we went into the November 4th or whatever, and that was with 4 teams from each conference, and that's just really long. And you got to shorten the regular season if you want to add teams to the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think you do need to shorten the season. Personally, I don't want the season shortened, but I think you don't have a choice. Baseball, I saw the day after the Giants win the World Series, Skip Bayless on the First Take in the morning, he said, baseball is dying before our eyes. Now, that might be taking it a bit too far, but he's right. I mean, people aren't growing up like we are. There's not too many people around here that just love baseball, and they watch every game of the season, and they can tell you the 25th man on the team. You know, and I guess me and you are just growing up in the wrong time to be baseball fans. But you know, they need to shorten the season. But I'm not sure how. You can't shorten the season to like 100 games because then that's just stupid. I think the number you're talking about is 145 from the 162. And really, how much of a difference is that 15 games going to make?
It is going to make a difference because it's going to give teams a lot more of a sense of urgency, especially in later August and earlier September, because mid-September would be where it would end if that would be the case. So that's going to make them want to win a lot more than it has before.
I understand that, and I like how baseball is now, but I understand that they need to change it. And how many teams do you think you add to the playoffs? I mean, I'm all cool with adding teams to the playoffs. It's not what I would prefer to have happen, but I know it needs to happen. But I don't want it to become the NHL playoffs either, or the NBA where the playoffs last 2 months and no one cares till Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
Yeah, well, you look in the baseball, and baseball is so more tightly contested because of the fact that right now there's only 4 teams from each conference in the playoffs. In the NHL, it is legitimately harder to not make the playoffs because there are 16 teams in the playoffs every year, and that's just way too many. And I don't want to see that happen to baseball. I personally, I don't think it's going to happen to baseball. I think maybe adding 2 teams so there's 6 in each. I think that'd be plenty.
I mean, I'm even thinking just add 1 team. I don't really know. To have 5 in each, that seems it's just gonna feel weird. Records and everything, you're gonna look at and say, well, Barry Bonds had how many games to hit 7 some home runs, and so only got so long to hit that, only 140 games a season. Well, you know, whatever with that, and I'm all cool with that. But I changed my mind because of this year's playoffs, because not because the Phillies weren't. And please, no one leave that comment that. But if you look over the past how many years, I think maybe the Phillies not being in this year allowed me to look back and say, wow, we really have not had a good World Series since 2001 on the Diamondbacks-Yankees, where Luis Gonzalez got the game-winning hit, Game 7. That was a great series. Since then, you know, the best series has probably been Phillies-Yankees, and it was a 6-game series, and the Yankees pretty much, with the exception of the games Cliff Lee pitched, controlled that whole series. So I don't know. I mean, I think there's a bigger problem, and it has to do with the fact that there's teams that just no one gives a shit about, like the Kansas City Royals. I respect what they did in the 1970s and early 80s, but what have they done for baseball lately? Personally, I think you need to start eliminating 4 or 5 teams.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. Eliminating teams, that would anger a lot of people, first of all. And second of all, I don't think that any team really deserves to be eliminated from the MLB. I think 30 teams is a good number, and I think you should add teams to the playoffs if you're going to keep it at that number.
Or you could just move the Pirates to AAA and no one would know the difference because they'd still suck.
Yeah, but like I said, I don't think that's a good move for the MLB.
No.
Because you're going to have people screaming in your face, first of all, and second of all, that's a really just an insult to the Pirates and an insult to the organization. If you would do that.
No, but I mean, maybe relocating some of these teams. Like, you saw in the NBA, the Seattle Supersonics fans didn't show up, they wouldn't give them a new arena, and then when the teams moved, they got pissed, which I never understood, because you had a chance with this team, you could have showed up to the games. I mean, you're talking about having Kevin Durant there, a beast. You didn't show up. You could have built a new arena or gotten a lease on the arena you had longer, and you didn't do it. So and then they moved to Oklahoma, and there's a ton of interest there now. The team's getting good, so maybe that's what baseball needs. They need to move some of the teams.
I could understand moving the teams. Yeah, I could absolutely understand moving teams around that don't have attendance up to what they consider par, I guess. That would give them a different outlook. That would give them a new chance to prove themselves, like you saw like what you just said with Supersonics and moving to Oklahoma City, because they're the first season I remember they said their season tickets sold out in like 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, that's good, and I think they'll be popular for the next 4 or 5 years. But another problem, I think, is kids just don't grow up watching baseball anymore. They don't like baseball the way people used to. I think, I hate to sound like a 60-year-old man here, but I think technology is ruining baseball in a sense, because people can just go on and watch SportsCenter and watch the highlight of the game rather than sitting down and watching a 2.5-hour, 9-inning game. And no one even comment on this video and say you should shorten the games to 6 innings or something stupid like that.
Yeah, I understand. We're growing up in a different time. Times have changed. Baseball is probably not really considered America's pastime anymore, at least for the youth of America today. And we do sound like 60-year-old men by saying this, but I really don't think that people just have the interest that they had in baseball before. One, because it's very slow-paced. It's very slow-paced compared to other sports, and I don't think the popular interest is what it once was.
It's very slow-paced, but I mean, there's not really a way to make baseball fast-paced. It is what it is. Either you like it or you don't like it. That's how I've always felt on baseball. The bottom line for me is you need to shorten the season. It's not getting the job done with the season you have. You're not drawing fans. You're not drawing interest. And, you know, if you want people to become interested in baseball and continue to make baseball one of America's sports, then you need to do something that really gets them back in. And, you know, I'm not saying put all the players on steroids again, because the steroid, I think, has a lot to do with what ruined baseball.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you 100% on that.
Everyone said the 98 home run chase with McGuire and Sosa, and we were little kids, we probably didn't even watch it then, but everyone said that saved baseball. It might have saved baseball at the time, but it screwed it over 5 years later when everyone found out, oh, these guys were cheating, when anyone with common sense knew that there wasn't just going to be guys up there hitting 70 home runs clean, but that's another story, another discussion. The bottom line is people think everyone's still on roids now because you hear the names Bonds and Sosa and you're like, oh, those guys are still in. I mean, that's what the common man thinks. And I did a video on Roger Clemens over the summer, and I read a comment and it said, that's what I don't respect about baseball. They're all just a bunch of cheating Neanderthals or something, which I honestly don't even know what that word means. But, like, I think that was a generalization when really I don't think there's a ton of steroids in baseball right now.
Oh no, I think the Mitchell report at least eliminated it some, and I don't think that players are using steroids as much. You saw it this year, the year of the pitcher. Guys were not hitting 50, 60 home runs in this season, and you look at what happened to some of these guys, some of these older guys. I mean, you saw all the injuries this year. There was much more injuries this year and in the past couple of years than there was in the late 90s and early 2000s. And what do you think that has to do with it?
Steroids. I think the year of the pitcher was probably horrible for baseball. I loved it. I loved watching pitching baseball. I'd rather watch a 3-2 game than a 9-5 game any day of the week. That's just me. Now, I didn't even plan to do this in this video, but I was thinking of a topic a few weeks ago when the World Series. Let's be honest here. This playoffs just sucked. Okay, if the Phillies won it, I'd still be saying the same thing. I might be cheering, but the playoffs sucked. So what you need to do is you need to actually make it a World Series. And by that I mean have other teams play their leagues, have them get their champion, have us get our American champion, and then have them battle out in like a 4-team playoff. I know this isn't going to happen, but if you watch the World Baseball Classic, everyone knows at this point that Taiwan and Japan and Korea and Cuba, they care about baseball more than the average American there.
Yeah, and that's what's really changed over the past 20 or so years or whatever. And I think that's a decent idea. It's never going to happen. Baseball's never going to come around to that idea. But I do agree that these playoffs were not up to what I consider and what a lot of people consider par. And I think it definitely needs a change. Like we've been saying this whole video, baseball needs a change. They need to shorten the regular season to about 140, maybe 130 games. And adding teams to the playoffs, I think it has its good and its bad, but I think baseball definitely needs a change.
And they need something just great to happen. I don't know what it is. It's not going to be A-Rod breaking the home run record because he didn't do it clean. It's not going to be someone winning 300 games because clearly no one cares about pitching. I mean, I don't know what it is, but baseball needs something just absolutely great that captures everyone's attention, that is good PR, not something horrible. I think the biggest story, bigger than the World Series this year, was Armando Galarraga's perfect game being blown by Jim Joyce. And the whole thing this year, besides it being year of the pitcher, it was year of the umpires sucking.
Yeah, and that's kind of ironic, too, because people today love controversy. They love controversy. They love to take sides on things. They love to argue about things, and whether they love to see a controversy happen, especially in sports. And when you look at it from the big picture, it hurts sports more than it helps, but people like to see it. That doesn't make sense to me. I like to see clean things. I like to see calls being gotten correct. I like to see instant replay, and I don't agree with the popular opinion on that.
Well, I'm not even going to get into instant replay again. If they change this playoffs and they're too foolish to add instant replay, then I think you're going to lose a ton of fans. I really do. I mean, I think the bottom line, everyone's saying, oh, we want another wild card so our team gets in. But, you know, and I honestly want to see some other teams in. I do. But if a team like the Toronto Blue Jays gets in, we saw with the Giants this year, if they're not the Yankees or the Red Sox, no one seems to care. That's the issue I have.
Well, if you expand the playoff teams to 5 or 6, you never know what's going to happen. Maybe some more people will turn on the television or pick up a newspaper or whatever and follow their team and watch the games because they know that, oh, we actually have a chance to get in this year. We don't have to worry about the Yankees or the Phillies or whatever team is really great that year because they have more open playoff spots, so they know their team has more of a chance. Maybe that's what is going to happen. I don't know.
One final thing, baseball needs Cliff Lee to stay in Texas. They do. We're up against our time limit. I'd love to keep talking about this because I could go on for days. I'm Tim, he's AC, this is Cash Kelly, and AC Sports Report. We'll see you later.